Trappy McTrapface. If I were to do a trap purifier, I'd want to save the name for that. What's my iron looking at? 50k? I think I'll do one more inventory full of yellow crap, and then I'll switch the yellow items off. Hello, Battle Mage 32. Yeah, I'm still using the cracked lodestone right now. I know the empowered lightning nova would cost a lot to use, energy-wise. Even though the lodestone would the lodestone is sort of getting that point where I'm really casting the spell a lot. It's still not like at the, oh, I'm doing nothing to the enemies. With a name like that, I am not surprised. Yeah, my current build is quite effective right now. I don't think GG Stash is difficult to use at all, and I'm totally used to using it. I'd honestly say, like, so the way we've gone over tier lists a lot on the stream, but I don't mind going over it again. The way I look at Battle Mage is, in Grim Dawn, there's no real, like, tier list. There's, like, A tier and B tier. There are the class combos that have a lot of effective builds and have a low gear dependency. And then there are classes that have, like, a higher gear dependency but still have effective builds. So A tier, B tier. Within those tiers, there's like a little of the A plus A minus B plus B minus thing going on. Specifically, the A pluses are like Sorcerer, Conjurer, and in my opinion, the Battle Mage. The, like, A minuses are like Spellbreaker, Witchblade, Commando maybe. They're the really great classes, but they're just slightly not as crazy great as the others. And then for like B pluses would be like I don't know, tricksters, witch hunters, warlocks. They have like a one or two really good builds, but otherwise they drop off when you start to do other weird things with them. And to me right now the only B minus class is the battle mage. It's not to say it's not good, but it's definitely lacking in my opinion compared to the other classes. 14 and 7. Okay, now we can switch that off. Deathmark. A Deathmark Battle Mage, I'd probably say. Well, see, I don't do individual builds and tiers, or because I already said Blade Master would be on top, to me. So whenever I do tiers, I take into account build diversity. It's a combination of build diversity, build effectiveness, and gear dependency. So, like, the Sorcerer, to me, has low gear dependency, great build diversity, and great build effectiveness. The Spellbreaker has fairly great build diversity, fairly great build, like, fairly great builds, and then just it's an okay amount of gear requirements. Like, it has gear requirements, but it's not a heavy gear requirement. Gear dependency, I should say. It's not a heavy gear dependency. But Battle Mage doesn't even have the gear to get its... Like, it's gear dependent, but it doesn't have the gear to be... Like, it doesn't have the gear to support that dependency, really. Yeah, that's the whole thing with battle mages, is they feel like they're missing something. And actually, I think that's a... I didn't think to put it that way when I was first talking about this, but yeah, I would say that they're a gear-dependent combo that doesn't have gear to support the combo. That's how I'd look at it. And I mean, I've made effective battle mages that can survive the end game. It's just, if you compare a battle mage to like a blade master or a sorcerer doing the same thing, the sorcerer or blade master will always do it better. That might be a good hammer to use. The most gear-dependent class. Like I said, I think it's the Battle Mage. It's just that it doesn't have gear that it can use. Because the class combos are so discordant with each other that you really do need something to make up for it. But like, it's not... But, like, the gear doesn't exist. Yeah, so Battle Mage, 32. My Aether Ray Sorcerer, he can't, like, face roll Fabius, but he can take him on. I've shown it on stream and on videos that my Aether Ray guy can handle Fabius with whatever gear he's wearing. Like, he doesn't need to put on a special kit to go fight Fabius. I would say battle, like, the best for Caldos is definitely the Sorcerer. Because we're talking, like, build gear dependency, right? Well, yeah, Sorcerer's Arcanist, Demolitionist. So we're talking, you know, gear build dependency, and it's like a Sorcerer using Caldos can easily do the build without having to resort to using the actual either Caldos Regalia or the Agrivex Regalia, whatever it's called. I think the set, I call it the Wrath of Agrivex set just because I can't remember the damn name. It might be Agrivex's Wrath. Is it Wrath of Agrivex, named after the ability? That's not confusing at all. So Caldos Tempest on a Sorcerer. The Sorcerer can run the thing, and then and run it well without that set. Then when they get that set, they become a monster. Absolute beast with that set. Like, the Wrath of Agrivex set is ridiculous. Especially for a Sorcerer. It's borderline stupid how good that set is. That's a lot of green items. Okay, we need to go Steps of Torment next. Too bad it was all hats. That's unfortunate. Well, now you run into a problem, Wrecked by Protoss, because you say, oh, it needs a set that has a shield instead of a caster offhand. But a caster offhand would be straight up better than any shield you could give any build for that, because you want casting speed. And you'd have to get a shield with casting speed on it. And then if you do that, you end up making it reliant on that shield then. So you wouldn't be able to do something like Albrecht's Aether Ray with that character without losing the set. Yeah, we'll go with that shield. So you end up like walking this line with the battle mage. Oh, we got shit here too. I think I'll take those. Oh, right, I have to turn necklaces in. That's a tiny amount of experience to go for. Yeah, there are guides for doing GD stash debugging. I'm not associated with GD stash at all. So I don't feel that I can provide support for it. Rip Teferi. Rip. Oh, shit. I remember. I have to go back and put that... Did I not grab up that devotion point? Or did I? No, I did, because it gave me a ton of green stuff. Never mind. Given that I am forgetting which devotion shrines I've picked up in the last 5 minutes or so, I will probably be stopping after I get to Zarthuzalan down here and this devotion shrine. So that's what you get. So you get for trying to use tired memes. The end game of Grim Dawn is pretty much the end game of every other action RPG. You're farming loot to go and farm more loot. There's a lot of things you can do, though. You can do nemesis hunting. You can just do general farming. And there are roguelike dungeons you can run through. 3 of them. Nemesises are you get this negative rep with these factions, and when you get it to the maxed out negative rep, they send a like huge badass super mob after you. And by send after you, I mean it spawns in random locations. One for each negative faction. And you can get a lot of gear off of their stash by hunting them down and killing them. You can also do your standard like farming runs through different areas. And like I said, roguelikes. So there are dungeons where you're required to have a skeleton key to enter. And you craft that up. And when you go and run through the dungeon, if you die, you're kicked out of the dungeon, can't go back in until you reset the game, and then you gotta start all over again. And they have a giant, they all have giant chests at the end with unique boss. That's totally personal preference for you. All Veteran is more difficult enemies. And more gear drops, I guess. But, I mean, I use it on normal. I just play on normal because it goes faster. I also have a lot of the gear in the game anyways, so... I actually never play on normal. Or on Veteran. Yeah, it's pretty much like a challenge setting more than giving you any sort of real benefit. Even though it's not that much of a challenge setting, it just makes everything a little more challenging. The experience you gain is no different, though. Which is why you see me, like, on normal whenever I level characters. Until I get to elite. Because I mostly want to speed through the early game into the mid game. Actually, Gunslinger's jacket is not a bad jacket to wear. Speaking of early game and mid game, because it has total speed on it.